Hi guys. So we are browning up about 15 pounds of hamburger meat. So it's Sunday night. It's late. It is 10:38. I have to work in the morning. I have to be at work at 8. So I'm just gonna brown this up tonight, and then I'm actually gonna bring you guys back with me and can it tomorrow. We like to have just plain ground up hamburger meat on our canning shelf, because it just makes it, if you have a rough night and a super busy night and you just need a quick dinner, we can have that part of the meal already done and ready to go. We started doing this about a year ago, I think it was, and I was really apprehensive about it at first. I'm like, this is gonna taste weird, the consistency is gonna be weird. Every time we've had it, it's tasted beautiful. The consistency is perfect. I mean, it's just like ground beef. So what we do is we brown it all up, drain the fat off of it, and then we reserve that fat so that we can use it in the canning process if we need to add a little bit more. Or what I do with it afterwards is I will just put it in the oatmeal that I make for my chickens, or even just put it in their little bowl so that they can numb it down, because it's got the fat, but it's also got the protein in it, so that's really good for them. It's been a very long day today of just trying to get stuff done, and we had to go to Walmart tonight, which, just so you guys know, our closest Walmart is an hour away from us. Like, it's not just like, oh, let's get in the car and run to Walmart. It takes all freaking night. So we went to Walmart. Also, our closest McDonald's is an hour away. Our closest Taco Bell is an hour away. So we had Taco Bell for dinner tonight. So it's not something we can just jump in our car and go and do. But yeah, I'm gonna finish up browning this and then just kind of put everything away. Alright, so we have finished up browning the hamburger meat. This is 15 pounds of meat. Just so you guys can see for reference, these are huge bowls. So we actually got this cow from a local farmer and split it with another family in our community. So we ended up with, I think it was around 294 pounds of meat, something like that, 284. And we got 90 pounds of ground beef. We froze most of it, and then we're canning some of it. I'm thinking we're going to end up getting around probably 7 to 8 quarts out of this. We'll find out tomorrow when we can it. Now, I am going to pressure can this at 90 minutes at 10 pounds for our altitude. and we'll kind of see what happens then. I'm gonna get ready to go to bed. It is late. I have to work in the morning. I'm tired. So I guess good night, and we'll see you guys in the morning. Hi guys, welcome back to day 2 of canning ground beef. Just going to kind of give you a rundown of what I have going here, and then we'll go over to the stove and get started. We pre-cooked 15 pounds of ground beef. I'm actually going to be taking 2 pounds out of this though for my family's dinner tonight. We are having sloppy joes, so it was just all too perfect. It's already done up. So I'm going to take 2 pounds out of this and reserve it, and the rest will go into our jars. I'm just going to give you a quick rundown of what we have in front of us, and then we'll go from there. Just a quick note for you guys before we move forward. When canning, you want to make sure that you are following safe guidelines. So I suggest using a reference guide. I have 2 here. This is the Ball Blue Book Guide to Preserving and the Ball Complete Book of Home Preserving. This one's nice and thick. This is the 2012 version. I got this one just in a garage sale find with some jars and rings and stuff like that. It's been super valuable. I don't know if it is the newest version or not, so I would suggest looking up, making sure you get the newest version. It's going to have the newest regulations in it. This one is a 2020 version. I bought this at Meijer. I think, can't remember how much I paid for it, maybe like $12. And it is much thinner, but it has a ton of recipes in it. It actually has 75 tested recipes. So with that being said, just as a disclaimer, I am a canning rebel. And by that, I mean I am part of the Canning Rebels group on Facebook. I highly suggest you guys check it out. Those bitches are awesome. I love them. And they have taught me so much. So I highly suggest any recipe that you follow or any canning video that you watch, that you make sure you do your research. But also, I think that you guys should check out Canning Rebels on Facebook. I have learned so many things from those ladies and become a much more confident canner because of them. All right, let's get canning. All right, we are over at the stove. I am just reheating my meat so that it is ready to put in the hot jars when it's time. I have my jars in my oven heating up right now at 225. So we want to make sure we're bringing the meat roughly to the same temperature. I also have my pressure canner going here. That's very hot. My pressure canner going here because I'm doing meat. The recommendation is that you pressure can all your meats. So we are doing 10 pounds of pressure at 90 minutes. Just gonna finish this up here and then I'll bring you guys over when it is time to while our ground beef just finishes up getting warm, I figured I would talk to you guys about a few tips for canning ground beef. Now, I am in several canning groups on Facebook. I love to can, I love to learn. I've only been canning for about 3 years. I started out with canning dilly beans and then I've kind of moved up. Canning meat is a brand new skill for me. So I've been learning out loud with you guys. So I asked in several of my groups today for people to give me some tips on canning ground beef. So I just wanted to share a little bit of those tips with you guys. So In one of my groups, it's just called canning on Facebook, so just the word canning. I had a couple of great tips. One of them was from Ann Crum. She tells me she uses tomato juice instead of beef broth in hers, so I felt that was kind of interesting. She actually has a great video. If you guys would like to check it out, I will drop the link in the description box. She actually has a YouTube channel called Ann's Mini Homestead, so I highly recommend you guys checking her out. Also, now I'm hoping I don't butcher this name. I'm not even going to attempt your last name because I know I will butcher it. Please forgive me. But I believe the name is Cressida. It's Cressida. I hope I didn't mess that up too much. Cressida. I think that's how you say it. She says ground beef can be cooked one day and canned the next, like we're doing here. Cover with water. So after you cook it, cover it with water, and the next day you can skim off all of the fat, and that will give you the most minimal amount of fat content for your ground beef. What we did is we drained off the fat and then rinsed the meat so that all the extra fat gets off. She also suggests that a pint of ground beef, if you want to can it in pints, because you can can it in your pints or your quarts. She says a pound of meat fits into a pint and 2 pounds of meat fits into a quart. So that's a great way to gauge how many jars you need based off of how much meat that you have. So just kind of want to share those with you guys and share some of the things I'm learning as I learn out loud with you. Okay, so we've got our hot meat ready. We have our beef bouillon in the big pot ready to go. We have 4 of our jars out right now. The rest are in the oven staying warm. I'm going to take my little wooden spoon and just put about a half a teaspoon of salt into each jar. Then we're going to fill the jar with our meat, fill with our beef bouillon, and then put our lids on. I have our hot lids sitting over here. I might actually move them right here so I have a bit more room. And then we'll cap those and put a ring on. If you like it, then you should have put a ring on it. If you like it, then you should have put a ring on it. Don't be mad at what you see that you want it. If you like it, then you should have put a ring on it. So I use pink Himalayan salt. You can use whatever salt you have. Just putting, like, oh, I don't want to touch that, about a half a teaspoon in each one. Then we're going to put our funnel on there. I'll get our salt out of the way. Just put a big scoop of our meat on into our jar. We're going to fill this to about an inch headspace. Try not to make too much of a mess. So a good way to measure is you want to be about right here. This is going to be your inch, and then this is going to be your half inch, and this is going to be your 1/4 inch line. Now we're going to take our hot bouillon, hot. I'm just using a big 2-cup measuring cup to dip this out. And fill our jars up. Again, to a 1-inch headspace. Keep a little bit of this out. We're going to take our debubbler and just kind of stab it through there. I don't want to have any air pockets. And I don't know if you can see this, if you want to get nice and close here, But see how much that went down? It was up to here and now it's there after debubbling. So we're going to add a little bit more broth. There we go. And then I will get our lids and our wings out. Before you put your lid on, you want to make sure that you take a clean towel, just dip it in some vinegar, go around the edge of your lid, so you don't want to have any gunk in there. That'll create a bad seal. Put your lid on, then you're going to want to cap it. All of this is going to be pretty hot, so just be careful. But you want to just get finger tight. You don't want it to be super tight. Then you lift it up. See how beautiful that is? It's going to be so good. And you're going to put it in your hot canner. I will continue to fill this up. My canner holds 7 quarts. So I will get this filled up with 7 and then I'll bring you guys back and talk to you about the actual canning process. Alright, last jar going in. My canner holds 7 quarts. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So in my canner, I have 2 quarts of water boiling. We're going to pop our lid on. Make sure it locks in place. There we go. Now we're going to bring this canner up to temperature. So I'm actually going to let it go until steam comes out of this vent right here and it creates a V shape. So once it does that, we're going to let it vent for 10 minutes and then we will put on our weight. Like I said, we are 10 pounds of pressure, so I'll put it on the 10. At that point, I'll change my knob over here. So I'll change my knob over here. Currently we're at 8. I'll bring it down to roughly between our 4 and our 5. You just want it to go until the weight on here is shaking just kind of intermittently. So you don't want it to be shaking at a constant rate or not shaking at all. So we'll do that, and then at that point is when our time will start. So our time will go for 90 minutes. This whole process will take around probably hour 45, almost 2 hours. All right, I will let you know when it's ready to
Okay
guys,
guys,
so my canner is now venting in a V shape. I'm going to try and show it to you guys. It might be really hard to see, but we'll see if it shows up on film. So I don't know if you guys can see that, but ooh, you can definitely feel hot steam coming out. It's coming out in a V shape. So I don't know if I mentioned this before, but you need to let this vent like this for 10 minutes. Before you put your weight on, okay? So we're gonna let it just kind of do its thing for 10 minutes. I'm gonna set a timer and then I'll bring you back when it's time to put the weight on. Okay, it is time to put on our weight. We've been venting our canner for 10 minutes. So now you just do like that. In just a moment, this weight will start kind of spinning and shaking. It's going to be really freaky, but it'll be all right, I promise. Okay, this is what we're looking for. You want this weight here to be spinning and rocking and making that noise. So now we're just going to wait a minute, make sure that it's doing it pretty consistently, and then we'll start slowly bringing down our pressure. So what this means is that pressure is built in our pot, but we want to bring it down to where this is only happening every now and then. So it's not a consistent thing. I will say I have an old school pot. A lot of the newer ones have like a temperature gauge and a pressure gauge on them. Mine doesn't do that, so we got to go old school. But listen, I learned to pressure can. I'm really excited about that. I was really terrified to learn to pressure can, and it took my best friend showing me how to do it before I would be okay. And then I literally had to practice a couple times, and the first time that I ever did it, I freaked out and called my best friend and video chatted with her. I'm like, is it supposed to do this? Like, what's happening here? And so she had to like calm me down and walk me through it. So Rindy Slater, thank you so much. I love you, girlfriend, and thank you for showing me the way. All right, we're going to slowly start bringing down our pressure. Kind of get you guys where you can see it. We're at 8 right now. Oh, you can't see that. We're at 8 right now. I'm going to bring it down to about between a 4 and a 5, but we're going to do that slowly. So we're going to go to 7. I usually give about 2 minutes in between each time of turning my dial down until I get to the right pressure. You'll know that you're at the right pressure when this isn't consistently doing this. Okay, it's been about 2 minutes. We're going to bring it down to a 6. Let that go for 2 more minutes. Now we're going to go down to just under 5. This is about the range that it starts slowing down. So we're going to kind of gauge it between the 4 and the 5 on my stove. So that's going to be just below medium. And like I said, we'll know by how our weight is shaking and rattling and rolling. So we'll kind of watch that for a minute. This is what we're looking for. We want it to be doing this like every now and then, shake, rattle, and roll. We're just below a 5 on my stove, so just below medium, and we're gonna let that go. We can actually start our timer now because we're at the right pressure. So this is when our 90 minutes starts. So I'll get my timer going. We'll let this go for an hour and a half, and then I'll see you guys back when it is done. All right, so our timer just went off, so we're just going to turn this off, let everything come down, and release from pressure, and then we can take off our weight and take the lid off. Now, I'll show you guys. This is not a great thing to do, but I'm just going to show you. This still has pressure, so you don't want to mess with that. You just let it be. All right, so we'll just let it come down on its own, and then we will remove the lid when it's all nice and cool. I will bring you guys back when that happens and just show you our final product. Okay. This has been cooling for about 50 minutes now, and I think we're ready where we can open the lid. So just so you can see, nothing's happening when we touch this weight anymore, you do still want to use an oven mitt or some sort of protection when you're taking everything off, because it is still going to be pretty hot. But we'll go ahead and take this off. I'll grab another oven mitt and just turn to unlock. And you're going to want to lift the lid away from you. So you're going to want to lift it towards the wall in case any steam comes out. See, I don't know if you guys can see all that steam coming out. These are still boiling inside the canner. Bring it down and let you see. So they're still boiling. But I think we'll be able to take them out and sit them on the counter to cool overnight. So I will meet you guys over at the counter and we'll get these unloaded. Okay, so here's what I ended up with. I ended up with 7 quarts. 2 of my quarts did not seal, so I'll just put those in the fridge and make sure my family uses them. Sometimes that happens, especially when you're working with things like ground beef that have a high fat content. You just get something underneath your rim, and even though you wash your rim off, it just kind of happens sometimes. So we'll just throw those in the fridge and make sure that my family uses them in the next week. Thank you guys so much for going through this process with me and learning out loud with me. I do really appreciate it. And if you guys could just do me a favor and make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any new content coming from Hippie Dippy Homestead. Have a great day. Bye.